I could probably sit here and watch this all day. I mean, come on. Look at this. It's so good. Heyo and welcome to another episode of Pine Harbor County, where we will use and abuse the new operating district mechanic that was introduced in Cities Skylines 2. So before we begin, I did want to come in and show the western part of the trailer park, which I filled in with residential zoning off camera. Everyone still has an opportunity to put their settlement names in the comments below, so please make sure to do so if you have a great idea for naming this trailer park. Alright, so let's not delay any further as I have a lot I want to build today, including some more industry and exports. I want to discuss our next steps in the build. I also want to let the simulation run a little bit to check up on our trailer park experiment. And we do have a very, very, very small TLC checklist. So let's jump right on into it. With all the specialized industry in our new settlement, I think it would be in Pine Harbor County's best interest to start future-proofing this area and connect the new cargo terminal to the harbor in Pinecrest Junction, as well as some of the other outside connections. So I want to start doing that by actually coming in, adding another track here, and some storage units as well. Down the line, we may want to add another cargo station in, but I'm gonna wait and see how the simulation reacts to these changes first. So let's come in, let's add the extra track add-on. Alright, so let's go in and draw some outside connections quickly. So we'll come in with the cargo route. Alright, and we also need to head back on over to Pinecrest Junction and turn on the rail yard. That way we actually have some train vehicles to work with. This up. There it goes. Alright, and while we're working on some outside connections, let's go in here and start naming these. So I do want to eventually rename the outside connections here. So instead of Fort Johnson, for instance, I'd love to be able to rename this, but for the time being, we'll leave the names that are there. And let me know down in the comments if there is a name you think would be good. Okay, if there is one thing I kind of wish, I do wish it was easier just to get back to... Oh, never mind. It is easier to get back to the last menu. I'm just clicking the wrong thing. Don't mind me. Okay, so all of these now should be at the lowest trains. Alright, so next I do want to add just a little bit more specialized forest industry in this new settlement. I want to be careful with how many places I put in though, places being how many of these little guys I put in, because I want to keep the unemployment rate high so that the wealth stays low. However, I really like the export features in this game. I enjoy this little chart immensely, so I am going to add more forest industry in since I have so much of it. So let's go in and do that. I think that's pretty good just for now. So next, I really do think it'd be silly for us not to connect the cargo station that we just built to the Pinecrest Junction harbor here. So I do want to come in and I want to add in the railway connection. So let's go in and kind of work at plopping this in. Ignore this. You don't see this. We're gonna work on this. But shh, you see nothing. Alright, so let's add in that cargo line real quick. Okay, so this isn't connecting right here for some reason, so I'm gonna go off camera real quick and try and fix that. So next I want to add the fuel plant signature building, which I unlocked earlier when I was adding that residential zoning off camera. Now I think I want to place it near the rail yard right here. So what we're probably going to need to do is pull in grind a rock a little bit. So let's just pull it into that just for now. And then let's come into signature buildings. Let's plop that there. And then I do want to come in and I want to add a parking lot. Just right up behind here. One right there. I do want to pull that alleyway in a teensy bit longer. Alright, so if this holds 892 employees, I want to try and get as much parking as possible. Gives me such pleasure to do this. I don't know what is wrong with me, but I love pay for parking. You must pay so much money to park in this city that it's kind of ridiculous. Alright, so let's discuss our next expansion, and I want to actually come into our resources here to kind of give everyone a visual. So we could expand north, or to the left side here and start working on some farming area, or we could expand south to the right hand area and start digging at some of these ore mines here. So before we start deciding, there is something I want to take a look at, and that is our production chain here. So right away we can see that we have a blaring deficit in grain, and that's because we do actually produce a good amount of petrochemicals, convenience foods, and beverages. So these two go to our consumers and the retails in particular. This goes towards a lot of things: consumers, heating, electricity, and additional processing. So we could definitely benefit from starting the farms, at least as far as game mechanics go. But we also do use the mineral or the metal ore and the coal. So the coal in particular, if you recall from our electricity choices up here, and then our metal ore we use just for processing in general. Some of the industrial sites that we have created randomly need this. Ultimately though, I'm interested in which way you guys want to expand. So let me know down in the comments below if you want to go north to the farmland or south to some ore mines. And if you're not really someone who likes to leave a comment, feel free just to hit a like on whomever has already, stated farmland or ore. The liked comments let me know that you guys agree with that comment and thus wish to go in that direction. Okay, so I think now might be a good time to start tackling that TLC checklist. So I want to start by solving this bottlenecking issue we seem to continuously be running into here in Pinecrest Junction. And I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna attempt to do this by placing another transformer station right here up at the forestry site. So let's delete. All right, and hopefully that will help with the bottlenecking itself. Okay, so next I want to bring up our water and sewage here. So we are actually importing a good amount of water here, and this is probably due in fact to the outside connection I made over here, I believe last episode. So we are importing water to this entire area right now, and we're going to be continuing to do so until we buy the tiles to, start connecting everything together. And I thought right here would be a really classy spot to put a water tower. So let's go on in, let's add a water tower to this area, and, stop trading in water. Okay, one, that looks super, super awesome. Some would even say, kind of sexy. Two, why is it that my electricity always gives me issues, but my water hooks up right away? Kills me. Alright, so the last thing I want to do on our TLC checklist is actually come in and start naming some of these services. I want to do this for a main reason. So see how we just changed this to TBA Cargo Train Terminal? Well, now when I hover over these spots, there'll actually be names for them. So for instance, you'll see TBA Cargo Train Terminal and know that this is the train terminal. And if we go over here and type in Pinecrest Junction Cargo Harbor, well, now we actually know what we're looking at here. So let's just go in real quick and start renaming different items. So when we are looking at our services and looking at our routes, we actually know what we're looking at. Obviously, once we've decided what to name this district, we'll come back in and we'll change all this up. Okay, so because of some of the timing with the two episodes, episode 7 and episode 8, and just how slow Cities Skylines 2 simulation runs, I want to let a few months run through the game, at least a minimum of 3 months, possibly longer. So I figured during this time, we'll watch a couple of clips of the city itself in action, a few cinematics if you would, and we'll come back together in a few in-game months to evaluate where our low income challenge is at. Okay, so I've let the game run for about 3 months in the game, and I wanted to come in and kind of take a look at where our low-income trailer parks were. So let's start by looking at the wealth of this area. So I'm gonna actually start by coming into the district itself. And what actually surprises me a little bit is that the average wealth of this area is comfortable. So for me personally, if this is going to be a low income area, I'd rather see this, right here showing, lower income. So if we come into each, maybe a couple of houses here. Yeah, so we have poor, wretched. And I think it's these ones right here, these random outliers of wealthy, that are making our district overview show an average comfortable wealth. Yeah, so like there's another wealthy one there. Actually, a lot of these are wealthy here. So there's a lot of wealthy on this side. And I'm kind of curious. Don't think it's the commercial, but I'm kind of curious if it's the commercial. So for now, to carry on with the spirit of our experiment, I am going to de-zone these commercial buildings. Actually, just D-zone all these commercial buildings, and then I'm just gonna come in and just start by rebuilding a singular bigger one and see how it affects this area here. So we'll kind of see how once, you know, Tiny Toys builds in here, we'll see how that affects the wealth of this area, because again, these guys are, you know, for the building levels being kind of low, they're actually pretty wealthy, which honestly, that brings us into the next info view I want to look at here, which is building levels. So something we had been mentioning in the comments as part of the challenge is keeping the building levels low. So if you look down at the map legend, anything, you know, this bright green here is a high level. Anything red is low with, you know, plethora of oranges and yellow in between. This area, the housing, it's all in the orange area. And when we were clicking through, obviously we were seeing, you know, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, a birch tree, don't mind the birch tree, 2, like most of these aren't getting up to level 3. I don't think we actually have any level 3s. So we're at least succeeding in that area so far. So we'll continue to monitor this over the next few episodes and again, see if we can bring this down a little bit. Alright, so let's begin wrapping up this episode for today and let's jump into a Beautifying the Build time lapse. We'll probably do a little bit of tree planting in both cities here. And yeah, I will see you guys in just a few moments. sweet. So I hope everyone enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to comment below on the names for our outside connections, as well as if you want to expand into farmland or next. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please consider giving the video a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel and want to follow along with Pine Harbor County, please consider subscribing. Lastly, and most importantly, I hope you all have a phenomenal week.